In the first scene of the movie, we see our protagonists, Darius and Chan, bantering while watching a basketball game on TV. They have been best friends for years, and they hang out like this often. In the next scene, Chan receives a call from her friend Daniela. Chan is surprised to get a call from a friend she hasn't talked to for a long time. Daniela informs Chan that she'll be in town next week, and the two briefly plan what they'll be doing once they meet. During the call, Daniela is preoccupied with spying on a man from her car, so she ends the call abruptly. Next, we see Darius in his workplace, polishing a chair and talking about how sexy it is. His best friend, Michael, arrives, and they start gossiping. Michael asks Darius if he is ever going to sleep with Chan. He then proceeds to list everything likable about her. Darius believes that having sex with his best friend of 5 years is going to make things messy. Michael dismisses the response and jokes about how he'd be the one to sleep with Chan if Darius doesn't. Later that night, Chan calls Darius because he is late for their hangout. She finds out that he just finished a date, so she just tells him to hurry up. Before Darius arrives, Daniela pries into Chan's relationship with Darius. Chan tries to assure Daniela that she and Darius are only best friends, but Daniela does not seem convinced by the response. Moments later, Darius finally arrives and meets Daniela. He immediately takes over the bar and tells everyone that drinks are on him. The next scene is in a 5-star hotel, and we see Daniela and Chan having a spa day. The two ladies start talking about Darius again. Once again, Daniela tries to insinuate that sleeping with someone's friend isn't a bad idea. Chan shoots the idea down. During this conversation, we find out that Darius is a guy that got his heart broken before, and now he just dates around a lot of women to make up for that. By the end of their talk, Chan invites Daniela to the house party that Darius is hosting, with the intention of introducing her to Michael. Fast forward to the party, Chan and Daniela meet Darius. While making small talk, Darius mentions that he wants to show off his cooking skills. Daniela makes a comment about how he is getting more impressive the more she knows him. Chan gives her friend a puzzled look, but lets it slide. At one point in the night, Daniela gets a little flirty with Darius. He reciprocates a little bit and matches her vibe. Then we see a few scenes where men try to flirt with the other women at the party. When Darius sits down beside Chan, she asks him why he is chatting with her friend. He jokes about Chan being jealous and tells her to not worry so much. Meanwhile, another man is trying to flirt with Daniela at the bar, but she's ignoring him because she's too focused on looking at Darius. The next day, Darius and Michael are back at work, talking about Daniela and Chan. Michael tells Darius that Daniela was looking at him all night. He suggests that Darius should sleep with Daniela at least once before she leaves town. Darius insists that it would be rude to sleep with Chan's friend. Later that night, we see Chan and Darius drinking at a bar and having a chat. Chan asks him some questions to get him to slip up and admit that he finds Daniela attractive. Darius plays it cool at first, but eventually admits that it's only natural for him to find Daniela attractive. The next day, Chan bumps into her ex-boyfriend, Kevin. While catching up, Darius comes up in the conversation. Kevin points out that she has a weird friendship with him. Chan gets offended by the comment, and she brings up how Kevin cheated on her. Before parting ways, Kevin kisses her on the cheek, which she finds weird. Later, Chan meets up with her editor Erica. They briefly talk about Kevin before talking about work. Chan tells Erica about the weird encounter earlier. Meanwhile, Erica floats the idea of Chan getting back together with her ex, but she quickly shoots that idea down. After that, they proceed to do business. In the next scene, Michael brings a girl back to his office and tries to initiate some sexy time. However, the girl suddenly gets hungry and asks him to go out to eat. Michael points out that they just ate, but the girl insists that she's hungry again. This ruins the mood, and Michael is forced to go out again with her, putting the sexy time on hold. In another part of town, we see Chan and Darius hanging out. He suddenly tells her that he and Daniela have been texting each other. He is wondering if Chan is okay with that. The revelation catches Chan off guard, and she starts grilling him. At one point, she tries to tell him that she doesn't care, but her facial expression and body language reveal that she's upset. Darius teases her and asks her why she's getting mad, but, as expected, this upsets her more. The next morning, Daniela calls Chan to inform her that she'll be back in town next month. When Chan asks why she's visiting again so soon, Daniela reveals that it was Darius who invited her. She ends the call early because she is, once again, spying on a dude like a stalker. Later that day, Chan goes to Darius's workplace without calling him first, and asks him why he invited Daniela. Darius admits that it was Daniela's idea to come to town and watch Chan's movie premiere. This comes as a surprise to Chan, because her friend has never visited that frequently before. She believes that the reason for the visit is Darius, but she never expresses this sentiment directly. When Darius suggests that the two ladies should talk about this issue on their own, Chan gets irritated. She assumes that Darius and Daniela have had deep conversations without her knowledge. Since Chan can't properly articulate her jealousy at this point in time, she decides to walk out and leave Darius confused. In the next scene, Chan is talking to her editor about the upcoming movie premiere. Everything is set up, and the event is good to go. Erica then asks about the book that Chan is writing. Unfortunately, Chaeyeon is not confident with the pace at which she's writing. This is when it becomes apparent that the recent development with Darius and Daniela is weighing on her mind. Erica gives her a pep talk before heading out to another meeting. The next scene takes place in Chaeyeon's home. Daniela is watching TV with her and suddenly brings up considering moving permanently to town. Chaeyeon asks what brought on such a decision, when Daniela has a good job in another city. Daniela tells her that she can always find another job, and that she thinks it's about time she took some risks to get what she wants in life. Chaeyeon thinks it's a very out-of-character decision for her friend to make, so she is convinced that something else is motivating her. At this moment, Chaeyeon finds out that Darius and Daniela are getting serious about their relationship. She tries to pretend to be indifferent about the situation, but she can't hide her mood from Daniela. When confronted about it, Chaeyeon finally gives Daniela a piece of her mind. According to Chaeyeon, Daniela always got what she wanted and took things away from her, even when they were in high school. She thinks Daniela is doing the same thing by taking away her friend from her. Daniela fires back by mentioning that she has always lived in Chaeyeon's shadow. She proceeds to list examples of how Chaeyeon always had the spotlight. As the argument continues, the two ladies bring up more dirt. Finally, Chaeyeon reveals that she knows about Daniela having an affair with a married man. Daniela is stunned, but before she can say anything more, someone knocks on the door. Darius arrives with wine, but Chaeyeon decides to take it and leave the house, leaving him alone with Daniela. He has no idea what just happened. Fast forward to the after-party following the movie premiere, and we see Chaeyeon at a bar. Despite the venue being full of people, she chooses to sit alone. Darius arrives and apologizes for being late, since he took Daniela to the airport. The two friends order 2 shots of tequila at first, and then they keep drinking heavily for the rest of the night. The next morning, Darius and Chaeyeon wake up in the same bed. Chaeyeon panics and asks Darius what he plans to tell Daniela. She suggests not telling her friend, since she believes that what happened didn't mean anything to her. Darius disagrees and points out that sleeping with her changed his perspective on a lot of things. Chaeyeon reiterates that she doesn't want Daniela to get hurt. Darius gets pissed off that Chaeyeon is putting her friend's feelings first, so he gets up and leaves. Later that day, we see Darius zoning out while at work. Michael calls Darius's attention, and they proceed to engage in small talk. A beautiful lady arrives at the store and stuns the two men. Michael immediately stands up to entertain her and asks her what she needs. The rest of the scene is just him flirting with this customer, which eventually leads him to schedule a dinner date with her. The following scenes show us Chaeyeon in different locations, thinking deeply about something. One day she finally musters up the courage to talk to Darius, so she goes to his workplace. Chaeyeon admits that she misses Darius and that the way she behaved after the incident was wrong. Before she can continue talking, Michael and another man walk into the room. Since she doesn't want the other guys to hear the conversation, Chaeyeon stops talking and tells Darius to give her a call later. The following day, Chaeyeon talks to Erica. She tells her about her plan to talk to Daniela and tell her what happened between her and Darius. Erica thinks doing so is a bad idea, but Chaeyeon insists that she's set on telling the truth. That night, Chaeyeon and Daniela meet at a fancy restaurant for dinner. Chaeyeon stutters and struggles to say what she means to say. In a roundabout way, Chaeyeon finally admits that she slept with Darius a few weeks back. As expected, Daniela is livid. Anything else that Chaeyeon says after falls on deaf ears. Daniela goes on a rant about how she thinks Chaeyeon enjoys seeing her miserable. After that, Daniela throws Chaeyeon some cash and walks out. The next day, when Darius visits Chaeyeon, she tells him that she told Daniela the truth. Darius gets mad at her because she dropped the bomb just when he and Daniela are taking their relationship to the next level. He thinks that Chaeyeon is being selfish by revealing the truth. Darius then walks out and acts like he isn't the one who suggested telling the truth in the first place. In the next scene, Darius contemplates cutting ties with both Chaeyeon and Daniela. Michael jokingly suggests giving the ladies to him instead. Darius immediately regrets sharing his troubles with him after hearing such a joke. Michael then suggests an awful course of action, which is to play the game and entertain both ladies at the same time. He points out that Darius won't get caught, since Daniela and Chaeyeon are no longer on speaking terms. Despite this being a horrendous suggestion, Darius decides to follow it anyway. Later that night, Darius goes on a dinner date with Daniela. He apologizes for sleeping with her friend. Daniela is quick to forgive and makes Darius promise to never repeat that mistake again. Of course, Darius says whatever he needs to say to keep his relationship going. On a different night, we see Chaeyeon receive a call from her ex. He asks her out, but she has plans that day, so she promises to link up with him another time. Moments later, she's having dinner with Darius. This is when Chaeyeon admits that she was feeling competitive toward Daniela, which explains her past behavior. After finally clarifying her feelings, Darius asks if she's trying to take their relationship to the next level. And so begins a complicated triangle between the three main characters. The following scenes show us Darius dating two women at the same time, not giving a damn about the possible consequences. Darius doesn't usually follow Michael's advice, but when he does, he chooses the worst advice of them all. In the next scene, Darius is hanging out with Daniela at her house. He suddenly asks her what she likes about him. Daniela is surprised by the question, but she answers truthfully, listing down all the things she likes about him. She also mentions that he is someone that she imagines spending the rest of her life with. Darius doesn't explicitly say it, but he thinks she's investing a lot of emotion toward him, a guy she just met a few weeks back. Their conversation continues, and the topic shifts to Daniela's past relationship. She reveals that she had an affair with a married man for years, and this is the reason why she moved to a different location. Despite Darius reassuring her that he's not judging her, she doesn't feel like that's the case. To not cause further misunderstanding, they drop the topic and decide to drink instead. Later, Darius goes to Cheyenne's house to make love to her. This time, they are both sober. The next night, at Daniela's home, she surprises Darius by wearing something provocative. She points out that despite them being in a relationship for quite some time, they have yet to sleep together. He tries to avoid the situation at first, but his hormones take over after seeing Daniela's lingerie. Darius gives in and gives his girlfriend what she wants, right there on the kitchen countertop. The next day at work, Michael asks Darius about the two ladies he's dating. Darius admits that what he's doing feels wrong, which is apparently something that he realizes only now. He points out that someone is going to get hurt in the end. Michael gives another dreadful piece of advice about stringing along the women and never getting serious. Ironically, Michael admits that he is now getting serious with his latest love interest. Darius ends the conversation by pointing out to Michael that he can't even follow his own terrible advice. Later that night, Cheyenne is hanging out with Darius. She asks him if he's still talking to Daniela. As expected, the upstanding man Darius lies without flinching. Cheyenne tells him that she's considering reconnecting with Daniela and mending their friendship. Darius knows that this could compromise what he's doing, but he plays it cool and acts supportive. He tells Cheyenne to do whatever she thinks is right. The next night, Cheyenne's world shatters. She spots Daniela kissing Darius at a bar. She immediately steps outside to go cry in her car. She remembers all the intimate moments she's shared with Darius so far. All of those memories are now tainted. Some days later, Cheyenne talks to Erica at their office. They discuss a project requiring Cheyenne to move somewhere else for a few months or longer. Erica explains that such a career move is a big deal, but Cheyenne reassures her that she's already made up her mind. It's easy to guess at this point why this is the case. In the next scene, Cheyenne tells Darius about her moving to Africa for some time, for a literacy training program. At this point, Cheyenne doesn't let on that she knows about his two-timing shenanigans. Darius gets upset by the revelation, and asks why Cheyenne planned such a thing when they are just getting serious. She doesn't elaborate, and just urges him to finish their pool game. When Darius goes to Daniela's house, he can't focus on their conversation. All she's doing is talking about office gossip, and Darius can't even muster the strength to pretend he is interested in the conversation. He makes up an excuse to leave, telling her that he's sick and needs to rest at home. Fast forward to the day that Cheyenne leaves for Africa, and she has one final dinner with Darius. This is when she reveals that she knows that Darius is also seeing Daniela secretly. When Darius tries to change the topic, she walks out. Of course, he chases her outside the restaurant, leaving the servers wondering if they'll return to pay for the meal. Outside, Darius confronts Cheyenne. He has the audacity to tell her to stop playing games, and tell him how she really feels. She finally admits that she loves him, but she can't watch him love someone else. After a brief pause, she walks away from Darius, their friendship, and the restaurant bill. Later, Darius goes to Daniela's house, and she serves him some Chinese takeout. She notices that Darius looks gloomy. He then starts talking about Cheyenne and how she left earlier for Africa. Daniela is surprised by the news and comforts Darius. However, she doesn't seem to care about Cheyenne leaving. Several days later, Darius goes to Daniela's house again, this time to break up with her. She asks him if his decision has anything to do with Cheyenne leaving. This is when he finds out that she's been snooping through his phone. Darius is too emotionally exhausted to argue further, so he just leaves. Darius goes to his workplace to process his emotions alone. However, he is interrupted by Michael and his girlfriend. Apparently, they are there for a romantic evening, and they didn't expect anyone to be there. It takes Darius a few seconds to read the room. After that, he politely exits and wishes the couple a good evening. Fast forward to another day, Darius finds out that he's not the only one that knows how to play games. He bumps into one of his customers, Jonathan, exiting a restaurant with Daniela. He makes some small talk with him and greets Daniela. When Jonathan asks how Darius and Daniela know each other, they pretend to be acquaintances. Darius is left stunned after Jonathan and his ex leave. The next day, Jonathan makes a hilarious phone call to Darius. The married man clarifies that he and Daniela were just doing business at the restaurant, and nothing else. He also thanks Darius for not telling his wife about what he saw. Darius can't help but be amused by how ridiculous the situation is. Moments later, Daniela arrives at Darius's home and talks to him. She tries to explain the situation involving Jonathan, but he quickly stops her, stating that he doesn't care. This is when the conversation gets messy. Daniela reveals that he was only interested in Darius because she wanted to steal him from Cheyenne. Immediately after saying that, she tries to get back with Darius, trying to persuade him that they can still make a relationship work. Darius calls Daniela out for not making sense. He tells her that he doesn't want to get involved with the drama surrounding Daniela and Cheyenne's friendship. This is rich coming from him, considering how he played games with both women. Daniela stops arguing and just leaves, putting an end to such a disastrous conversation. Months later, Cheyenne is back in town, doing an interview on a morning talk show. She talks about her new book, about second chances and self-forgiveness. Darius watches the show from his workplace. Michael comes along to make some inappropriate jokes, but Darius pays him no mind. He's too focused on thinking about the love interest that is back in town. During the interview, Cheyenne mentions that she's looking forward to reconnecting with someone in town. It's not explicitly stated that this is Darius, but there is a good chance that she is referring to him. In another scene, Daniela receives a call from Jonathan. He tries asking her out on another date. This time, she summons the courage to turn him down, stating that she wants to set her life straight by not getting involved with married men anymore. At Darius's workplace, he boots up a saw machine and begins working. Unfortunately, he makes a critical error that causes him to cut his hand. He tries to stop the bleeding with a nearby cloth. In the next scene, we see Cheyenne having lunch with her ex, Kevin. As expected, he tries getting back with her, but she rejects his offer. She knows that they shouldn't be back together, especially after what he did in the past. Kevin insists that he is a changed man, a classic ex-boyfriend line. So Cheyenne counters by saying she is also a changed woman, which is precisely why she will never get back with him. Cheyenne receives a text that shocks her. She politely tells Kevin that she needs to go, because it's an emergency. Kevin allows her to leave, knowing that he can't say anything to make her stay. She thanks him for lunch and quickly gets up. The next scene takes place at the hospital. We see Darius in a bed with his hand wrapped in bandages. Cheyenne arrives and asks him about his hand. He reassures her that his hand will be fine, then asks how she found out he was in the hospital. We find out that Michael finally did one good thing for once, which is texting Cheyenne about Darius's emergency. Out of the blue, Darius asks Cheyenne why she left. She explains that after seeing him kiss Daniela, she assumed that she was the one he loved, which is a reasonable assumption, given the circumstance. Darius acts like a victim. He tells her that he was devastated because she left, and that she should have known that it was her that he really loved. Somehow, despite Darius's gaslighting and lack of accountability, the conversation takes a romantic turn. They end up making up and making out. Then in the following scenes, we see Cheyenne and Darius enjoying their new relationship and doing simple things together. One day, Darius gives Cheyenne a call and invites her to have a dinner date with him. He mentions that she should wear something cute or sexy, indicating that a special night awaits her. When they arrive at the venue, a nice table inside a kiosk is prepared for them. Their waiter for the night is Michael, who, as expected, acts like a goofball while serving appetizers. Darius tells him to leave, since he's interrupting the moment. Before they start eating, Darius delivers a cheesy speech and kneels in front of Cheyenne. He asks her to marry him. Cheyenne is unable to speak out of excitement for a few seconds, before she finally says yes. The scene ends with them kissing and exchanging sweet words. Days later, Daniela visits Cheyenne at her home. She sees Cheyenne packing her things and asks where she's going. Cheyenne reveals that she's moving in with Darius. Daniela notices the ring on Cheyenne's finger and figures out the rest of the details. Daniela summons the courage to finally apologize for everything she did to Cheyenne in the past. The two women go back and forth between apologizing and reminiscing about past mistakes. Then, at the end of the conversation, Cheyenne invites Daniela to be her maid of honor at the upcoming wedding. They make up and drink to celebrate their reforged friendship. The film ends with every loose end tied up.